Alright, here are the facts. A few hours ago, I would have told you that it is impossible to be surprised by a slasher flick about 5 idiots who go into a cabin and get slashed up and killed. However, I just saw Cabin in the Woods, and now I would beg to differ, my friends. Cabin in the Woods. So when starting out, I'll let you know, initially, Cabin in the Woods is about 5 college students who all go into a cabin. You know, drink and party and get away. And then bad things start happening and they start getting killed. Before you turn this review off because you're uninterested, there's a little more to it than that. Right, so I had heard that Joss Whedon was one of the producers of this movie, but I didn't know he was one of the writers. I found out he was one of the writers in the opening scene of the movie when 2 people were talking, and 5 lines in, I was like, Joss Whedon totally wrote this dialogue. It just has that Joss Whedon-ism about it. You know, it's funny and it's realistic. Like, if you took that funny, caricatured dialogue that Tarantino is known for, you know, the really realistic dialogue where you're like, I could see 2 people having that conversation. If they did have that conversation, it would be the perfect conversation for those 2 people to have in that moment. And you took out all the F-bombs, you'd have a Joss Whedon script. I mean, the analogy is not perfect, but that's the best I can describe it. Cabin in the Woods has a pretty, you know, it's a good cast. I mean, you got Chris Hemsworth, Thor. He's not completely uncredible. He's Thor. And you got Topher Brink from Dollhouse. That like solidifies the Joss Whedonism. And he pretty much plays Topher Brink from Dollhouse.
He still kind of talks like this, you know, really exaggerated, but he's really high all the time.
In this movie, he's, you know, he smokes a lot of weed. Which is funny because you look around, you're like, this is the absolute crew that would go into the cabin in the woods and get killed. Among the really slick dialogue and it being funny in a really dark way, Cabin in the Woods absolutely celebrates horror movies for horror movie fans and absolutely deconstructs them to the bone. And a movie like this comes along every couple of decades. There has not been a modern horror movie lately that's as unique as Cabin in the Woods. Cabin in the Woods is like Rain Man. Not like the Rain Man movie, but the Rain Man, the person, the character. At first glance, you're like, nothing special, not too deep. Then you get to Vegas and you're like, wait a minute, you're like some sort of awesome super genius. I got you, that works. They don't go to Vegas and Cabin in the Woods. It's metaphorical. You know what? That's my metaphor and I'm sticking to it. It works. But all you know is that it's about 5 college students who go into a cabin and they gotta survive. You walk out going, I had no idea what I was in for. You see how hard it is to review this movie without me spoiling it for you? I feel like I'm just like giving you scraps like, yeah, the movie is cool. That's what you get. At a point near the end of Cabin in the Woods, I thought to myself, I was like, this is like a Stephen King novel, you know, like back in his prime. But for me, it was tense, it was funny, it was dark. I love the dialogue. I love what this movie does for horror movies. It's not like the movie will win a Palme d'Or. Which is probably why I'm gonna say Cabin in the Woods is Awesometacular. I had to do it. And that was my main thing. I was driving home going, is it buy it on Blu-ray or Awesometacular? But in me, you know, loving a good horror movie and loving Joss Whedon and seeing everything I loved about Joss Whedon and horror movies mixed into a movie that celebrates horror movies and deconstructs them in a really entertaining way, how can I not say it's Awesometacular? I would be an asshole if I didn't. So what is your favorite horror movie? Like, they're all gonna get burned in a fire and you can only keep one. What is it? Comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.